Greetings, everyone, and I'm really glad to see you all today at another episode of Unscripted ASMR. And today I've prepared a car story for you. You know, there's an episode of Top Gear called Modern Peugeot Driver Adventures, if I'm not mistaken, where all kinds of misfortune happened to Clarkson and the team. You know, their cars fail, catch a fire, bump into things. And look into the comment section, everyone was having a good laugh during that video. But I wasn't laughing at all. But before we begin, I prepared you a nice hot cup of tea. It's a bit sweet today, and it's not too hot, so you can drink it right away. I have another right here for myself. And let's begin. So let's go back some years ago when I got fed up of all the unpleasant surprises provided to me by our family relic, Lada. And those people who say Lada are reliable and sturdy probably never owned one, because they are not. And I had the OG 86 Lada 2101. That was basically a Fiat ripoff. So when I was really I had enough with constant repairing this thing, because I got it from my father and he got it from his father. So it was a really old piece of rusty metal. I decided it's time for me to level up, to buy something more modern, to buy something more comfortable and of course foreign. So I cobbled up maybe about $3 or so and began my research about which great car can I buy. And I read a lot of articles. I consulted with my friends who have an old cars. And I figured for myself that I should buy maybe some Japanese car, maybe some Toyota, maybe old Mercedes, because their engines are said to be basically immortal. And all my research was for nothing, because at some point on local Ukrainian marketplace I saw this nice dark red Peugeot 405. And then it hit me, because as a kid I was a big fan of this car. I saw it performing in some rally competition, and I really thought when I grow up maybe I'll get myself one. And that childish dream basically fogged my logical, rational thinking. So maybe the next day I was in another city meeting with the seller, and basically I could just buy it without even looking. I could come with a bandage over my eyes. And this car was not just dark red, it has different body parts painted in different shades of red, which meant it was basically a Frankenstein monster assembled from different parts after multiple crashes or something like that. Inside everything was dirty, everything was shabby, it made a lot of weird noises, but I don't know why. I was just so disappointed to return home with nothing that I basically asked to ride it maybe for 15 minutes around the city. And I thought, I don't care about the looks, I look on the inside, I can see the inner beauty of this car. And so with that said, I bought it, and my adventures began right on my way home. I had with me a flash drive with only one song. I downloaded just to check the sound system in the car, and it was a famous song, Gas, 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 by Manuel, I guess, from the famous car memes, when it said gas, gas, And I decided, why not? So about 2 hours I was listening for this one song on repeat, and I was flying on some insane for this old clunker speed. A few times I sent myself in the air when I hit a road bump, but eventually I was home. The next day I sent this car to a repair station to do some basic checkups, maybe check some oil, or maybe, check the condition of its parts, which I had to do prior to buying it, honestly. And a few hours after I left it, the mechanic called me and said, where did I get this pile of garbage on the 4 wheels, and is it too late for me to return it? And it was too late, and previous owner already didn't pick up a phone, so probably he didn't believe his own luck that somebody bought this car. Anyway, instead of selling this car the very same moment, I decided that I will take care of it, because I like these old cars so much. I'm really a big fan of 90s and 80s cars. I think they have a lot of personality, a lot of, very distinct character. Because I like modern cars. They are versatile, they are comfy, they have all kind of cool options and functions. But when I look at the parking lot, all the cars look basically the same to me. Well, maybe except some sport cars. And those old clunkers always had a special place in my heart. So I decided I will not give up on this car. I will take care of it. And this car was so thankful that it started to give me really a lot of surprises. Some surprises were small, some surprises were big and really unexpected. For example, when I went to another city in the winter, it was about -20 outside. Maybe if you're using Fahrenheit, it's -4 as far as I know. So the road more resembled a wet surface of glass. But I thought, hey, I believe in myself, I can make it. So I moved out, had to ride about 2 to 3 hours on the frozen highway to another city. And drifting for straight 3 hours wasn't the worst part when I figured that my new expensive tires for winter didn't do shit. And wasn't even the worst part when I got in a traffic jam and I figured that instead of moving up, I'm slowly drifting down on the more expensive normal cars behind me. But the worst part was when suddenly my AC, or not AC, heater, started to blow cold air. And I was like, what a mysterious incident. Why isn't it hot anymore? I will freeze. And at the same moment, the power of the engine suddenly dropped. Like I felt like it took a really lot of effort to maintain at least some decent speed. So I figured something's wrong, but it was winter, and the people who were cleaning the roads from snow basically just cleaned one lane. And on the sides of this road there was maybe 1 meter high mountains of compressed snow and dirt. So there was no place for me to just, drive off the road and stop and maybe check what's happening. And while I was trying to find a place to stop eventually, the car stopped for me. And it happened in the middle of a traffic jam on some really lively street of a big city. And I tried to start the engine. It didn't work. I went outside and I looked under the hood, and everything was covered in a nice soft, warm foam of something that was a mix of a coolant liquid and diesel fuel. So I thought, this is it, my road trip is over. I called the evacuator and I couldn't hear what people in other cars telling me, but I could read their lips what they think about me for just stopping in the middle of a traffic jam, a really long line of cars. And of course, since I was in another city and there was no friends or someone who can help me to fix it, I had to go to the car service. And it wasn't some minor failure. I believe I may spell it wrong in English, but I believe the cylinder head gasket just blown and something was wrong with the cylinder head itself, so the repair was really expensive. But I still didn't give up. I didn't just left this car, I didn't give up on it. I believed in it and in myself too. After that repair, I didn't have much problems for some time. It was quiet. There were some, minor problems, maybe with the same coolant system, because when that incident happened, some big pipe, I believe, where this coolant liquid was, because of the pressure, it just exploded. And no one could normally fix it in place, so sometimes it just fell off and all the coolant, dropped and dripped on the road. Also, a lot of really nice surprise happened to me during my trips to the movies. Before the war, before curfew, I was a big fan of going to the cinema at night, when the cinema is almost empty. No one is chewing upon your ear. No one is commenting, giving comments on the movie, thinking they're hella funny. No kids whose parents brought them at some horror movie or a movie where sex scenes are present and they start to ask all kinds of obvious questions and do it all the time during the movie. Whatever. So once I went to movie, and when I went out, it was about 1 a.m. at night. It turned out something in the electric system of that car short-circuited, so it drained the battery, and I could not open the doors. The lock was broken since the previous owner, and I could not open it anymore with this keychain thingy. So I had to Google how to lockpick my own car on the parking lot at night. One called a police. Another time I tried to park as far from other people as possible. I usually did this because I'm really scared of expensive cars. My biggest fear was to scratch them. So I'd rather go a few meters more and spend a few more seconds than being sweating and with shaking hands trying to wiggle out of the tight space between cars. I parked in the very end of a parking lot. Nobody was around. And when I came back to my car, I saw a damn Maserati standing not just close to me. Our mirrors were practically touching, like less than an inch maybe. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just take a taxi and return again tomorrow. But then someone in the parking lot helped me to drive out of this tight space. So it wasn't that bad. There was another fun story when I know the name of this part of the car, but something holding the wheels in the back just broke. So my car in one swift move became a lowrider candy, and it looked like it was, designed for racing. It was practically scratching the asphalt with its body. And while I was dragging my ass to the repair station again, some kids on some colorful old Lada probably decided that I'm one of their own, like I'm of their kind, like maybe from street racing people. So when we stopped at a traffic light, they began looking at me and, hitting the gas, revving the motor, like, come on, let's rush from when the green light will be lighting. So they were like provoking me to some little race, and I thought if I will just speed up maybe more than 20-30 miles per hour, my car will just fall apart and my wheels will just fall apart and live their own life. So yeah, they were disappointed. They started like a rocket and I was left behind. I lost that race. Probably my only opportunity was to feel how it is to be a street racer. And I still had a lot of patience for that car. But then happened something that was the last drop. After another repair, it was a repair after a car crash, by the way. Nothing too bad happened, but I decided instead of just dragging it to the, scrapyard and getting $100 maybe for the weight of the metal of the body itself, I decided to give it a nice, stylish, pearlescent, dark red color, and it looked really good. I was in this 90s vibe. And when the guys were painting it and repairing, they probably forgot to put on some protecting tube on electric cables. So when the engine was running, they just kind of started to heat and baked together and short-circuited. And how did I find out about it? I was going, yes, to the movie again with my friend, and suddenly my AC, instead of cold air, it started to blow smoke. And I thought, that's interesting. I stopped and asked my friend to go look what's under the hood while I was trying to stop the engine. And suddenly my friend started waving his hands and saying like, quickly, come here. And I was like, no, you come here. I have a problem. The engine did not stop. I turned the key backwards, pulled it out, and the engine was still running. And that was a real mystery. So while I was puzzled with that, annoyed with my friend's screams, I went out of the car, looked under the hood, and a damn fireplace was there. So I thought, I couldn't stop the engine. Well, I don't know how about other cars, but in diesels you can basically make it stop by choking it. You just put some piece of cloth, maybe a jacket or something, press it to the air intake and it will choke and stop, unless it's some overpowered sport cars that will just suck your jacket inside and disintegrate it. But everything was on fire. I couldn't do that, so I could not think of anything better than just grab the cables that went to the battery and yank them out along with all the contacts and all the stuff that was there. But there was still fire. So, the saying that for a samurai to use his katana once, he has to carry it with him all his life. I think the same goes for a fire extinguisher in the car. Mine was old. It was rusty and covered in some sticky, gross stuff. I believe it was leaking, maybe, but it was still working, and I was able to stop the fire, extinguish it. And then I finally thought that enough is enough. I missed the movie, by the way. I never had the chance to see it again. It was kind of the last day. So I called my friend, who also sells used cars. And I said, look, I know it's stupid to confess to you. It's like shooting my own leg. But this car is a disaster. I have this car and everything is wrong with it. Would you like to sell it? He was hesitant, and then I said, you can give me any amount of money you'd like literally any. But I have one condition. If anything happens to this car, even if it happens like 10 minutes after we part, you will not call me and ask any questions. He was so happy. He gave me $1,000, I believe. At that time, for this money, the best you can get is some old rusty Lada. And he got a Peugeot, and it freshly nice, candy colored, dark red, beautiful Peugeot. And that was it. Sometime later, I checked Dia. For those of you who maybe don't know, Dia is a sort of mobile app in Ukraine that doubles all your documents, like ID, maybe tax number, car license. And since I gave the plastic card to that car seller, I didn't know where it went. And maybe a week later, I saw that in Dia, this car passport disappeared, which meant I finally was no longer an owner of that vehicle. I also saw the ad on some local marketplace with my car, my ex-car, and it said, a nice, reliable car suitable for a family or everyday work. And I thought, at least these words do not belong to me. My consciousness is clear. I sold it, honestly, for $1,000. So, yeah, that was it. The moral of the story, as I see it, is the following. If you're a car enthusiast, if you find it interesting for you maybe to fix cars, to work with an instrument, to spend time at the garage, there are really some aesthetics to this hobby. When you spend time in the garage with all kind of tools, maybe you turn on some music, take some sandwiches, I don't know, film a TikTok, something like that, then this might be a fun project for you. But if you're like me, you're just a casual driver who wanted to buy a car and just drive it every day without constant repairs, some accidents, without constantly tightening all screws, checking all liquids, and listening if it doesn't make any new noises, then buying a car that is more than 20 years old might turn into a living nightmare for you as well as it did for me. Yeah. Anyway, I do not try to discourage anyone. This car still had a lot of good sides, and its bad sides were probably not the fault of the car itself, but of a previous owner who neglected it. But on the bright side, it could start at any weather. It could go through any road. I just literally rammed through piles of snow or dirt if they are not too solid and compressed, and nothing happened to it. It was so soft. I didn't see such soft suspension almost anywhere, maybe in some modern business class cars. It was so careful to you. You didn't get any kicks in your ass from the road bumps. It was like you're riding on a cloud. and for its size it was surprisingly well controlled. So its wheels turned almost 90 degrees. Maybe it was just something wrong with it and they shouldn't have, but they did, so you could maneuver in tight spaces, and this was really useful for a city, like in my case. Yeah, so that's the story. And I thought I still had some door handle from it somewhere at home, but I didn't find it. I wanted to film it, but sorry, no door handles. Well, I also feel like it's enough of car stories today. Back then it wasn't funny at all, but now I'm recalling it with a smile, and I think it was really a lot of fun and a lot of cool experience you won't get from, just watching car videos on YouTube or something like that. Although I don't recommend anyone going through this kind of experience with cars. And I was really glad that you joined me today. If you're going to sleep, I wish you all the sweetest dreams. And if not, if you have a day ahead of you, then I wish you good luck, and we'll see each other real soon in the next episode of Roleplay ASMR.